Now, we live.
All right, welcome to Conversations with Tona Brown. We are talking to our panel of trans attractive men, and we were just speaking in part 3 about the Create and Change conference. If anyone has just anything else they would like to say about that, if you said your piece, Bryanna, I know you haven't said anything. I would like for you to, if you can. If not, I totally understand. How did it make you feel to watch?
I wouldn't wish that situation on anybody. That just to have the community, the way they crucify us is something that we a little bit removed from it, so it doesn't hurt as bad. But I don't have a lot of money. But I give what I can to the movement. So just to have the hard work that we all have done, the sacrifices, the tears and everything, we were basically giving ourselves to this conference for the betterment of the community, because we're in a unique position right now. And just to have that whole thing destroyed, it was so embarrassing. It was just so embarrassing. It just had people that I work with just turn on you. Just turn on you and just question your motives.
Yeah, it was a very difficult situation because, one, we didn't know what was happening, and I think that it was an ambush. But what I will say is that what they achieved was nothing. What I will say is that they did give us a bigger platform, because now colleges and universities and organizations around the world want to hear about this conversation. And I'm not going to be in solidarity with crazy. So I just want to put that out there for all of you who felt that I should have been on some other side than where I am right now. I'm not going to be in solidarity with crazy. The accusations were horrible. They didn't make any logical sense. They were false. We were all there, so we knew what was going on. It was a monstrosity, and it looked so crazy to everyone who saw it. And just the people that was
a part of it on a personal level. I have sat with these people. I've worked with y'all. I went to bed with y'all when y'all were going through stuff that y'all was going through. So just to have, it was just a slap in the face. Because I'm somebody, I extend myself to people, I make myself available to people. So just to be ambushed like that, like, I know I have people I don't get along with, but I would never do something like that to somebody in my community, because when we all go out here, we could be the next hashtag. So though I don't agree with, I would never try to discredit or try to destroy somebody's work, because that's our legacy. Right. So just to have it tarnished like that is something I will never. Is something that I'm still working through. So it's just really hard, and it's really real, and it has real consequences. I just don't forget that happened to all of us. So.
It's not something you can forget.
Yeah, it was definitely a traumatic experience, and from what Monica Roberts and so many people went through, it really was heartbreaking. I think, if anything else, what it did do too is make our community look at some of the ugly, and sometimes it takes a tragedy to see that that we have issues that we need to work on.
But this conversation was supposed to be a start to work on issues from where we men sit, and for us to start calling out, other men, that is very, very important, because, there's so many men who sit in the shadows, who lie and they're deceitful and all of that, but you don't want us to call them out. Why don't you want us to call them out? This conversation is going to go a lot of different ways.
Yep.
And we're going to continue to have these conversations. And you haven't stopped us. Again, the betrayal is something that's going to take a while for all of us to go over. To get over.
Yeah.
But.
And I think I'll have to Troy with the call. You mentioned about calling out our brothers. I think that's something we might want to even rephrase it. You call out those that do wrong. All right.
I agree.
You
That's
support
what didn't make
and you
sense.
invite those who are trying and
Right.
those who are questioning.
Right.
We have to invite these brothers here who don't know, who are scared.
Right.
All right. We have to invite them, not call them out, because
Okay.
calling out comes in the form of shame.
Right.
We need to invite these,
That's a very good
embrace
point.
these brothers, and not call out, but call forward.
Right.
Like going in the
Stand
church,
up
call
and be
forward,
counted.
come in and come here,
But
come
you
to
know,
find
I
your
want to
group.
say too that there's within the community, one of the things that we saw from this, and that some of the people who came to my rescue said, there is this fear amongst the community for anything that's masculine. That's anything that is, especially if it's black and masculine, because of the fear and what people are seeing with the murders and different things. Didn't have anything to do with y'all, and for that I apologize to you all that you had to go through that. It was also supposed to have been a safe space,
Right.
and that was not a safe space.
At all.
You know, that's not how you run a safe space. The security was nowhere to be found. And so
It wasn't a safe space
it
for
wasn't
me.
a safe space for all of us. It could have turned into a riot. So thankfully it did not. But I just want to applaud the strength of you guys who were on the panel, as well as those who were there. We had men that came from Atlanta. We had men from California. Like, it was so many different people that were there that didn't get to hear this conversation. So we made it our mission to make sure that this conversation happened. And just like I normally do with everything else, we put our own money into it. You know, we're not here. You all want to make money from this movement. We are trying to do the right thing. We're trying to get the word out from another perspective in order for us to have a greater understanding of why this stuff is happening. And you took that away from everyone that was there.
It was very
But
so.
you won't take it away anymore, darlings. Because that immaturity that you showed was embarrassing. But it helped the community to see that some of you need to be checked. It helped the community to see where those women and whoever else helped them, what their true intentions are and were. And so for that, I am grateful for the experience, even though it was a horrible one, it was traumatic, and it was violent. We're talking about violence against trans women, and you all didn't have any problems being violent against us and them. So you didn't even have the gall to come to me to even let me know what was going on. So again, I have a lack of respect for that, if nothing else. I don't have an issue with people protesting. I don't have an issue with people disagreeing with me. You know, we're not going to agree on everything. I'm not going to agree on everything that anybody says, because I'm an independent person. I think independently. But that's what conversations are about. Right. And we were trying to give you a conversation. And again, even though we just have cisgender men on this panel, there's also a fear for any masculine embodied person in our movement. And we're not talking about it. And we are going to talk about it on Conversations with Tona Brown. I cannot wait to get my trans brothers up here so that they can talk about the same thing, as well as their unique experience. And I'm looking for the right group of men. For all of you who are watching that want to volunteer to come and speak, you definitely have a platform with me.
And I want to say on that couple things that keep in my heart. One thing about the Chicago thing, it brought a passion for me. It brought a passion to recognize, even with our trans men, our brothers too, and that they need to know that we're in solidarity with them too, as well as our sisters, our trans men, and that violence against them we don't tolerate either. All right, violence against anybody. But second, also looking at what advocacy really is. Advocacy is more than just protesting. Advocacy is learning and doing the work necessary, the behind the scenes. The protest is the end result. You look at Selma. Selma happened, the protest of Selma, they had to do all that work first before they got down to that. All right? So just thinking you can come up there with a picket and start protesting, no, that doesn't do a thing. And furthermore, bullying is not protesting.
Right.
No. All right? It is not advocacy. And so these same people, these girls and anybody, whoever, learn what it is. Get to education too. Learn the education what it is. You're gonna be an advocate. Get some education, credential. Know what it is you're really doing. because what you did was on the form of abuse and bullying, and look what's happening as a result of it. You got no word across, and you're about to come out of here with a lawsuit and come out broke.
Well, I want to close out with this. You can't speak from our point of view as a trans woman, just as I can't speak from your experience as a trans woman. You know, I got 30 years in the game, you know, and it's been hard. It's been a hard road. I made a lot of mistakes. You know, part of the reason why I do this is to make amends for the mistakes that I made. You know, to pay a penance on the hurt that I caused. You know, I do this from the heart. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this before some of those young women transitioned, before they even knew who they were, who their identities were. You know, I've been doing this because, I've been trying my best to do the work to get the message out. You know, when there was nobody else saying these things and doing these things. You know, so you know, again, there have been a couple of times where, you know, I was stumbling and I really wanted to give y'all the finger and just say screw it and just let you deal with it on your own, and then I go about my business. You know, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I'm not really worried about violence against me. I'm not. Never have been. You know, I'm not worried about you know, negativity in the community, you know, or the society at large, you know, demonizing me and treating me. You know, I'm a black man. I deal with that every day. You know, but I want to support my sisters. I want to support my brothers. You know, I want to support the trans brothers out there. You know, I want to let them know that, you know, we are a community and we stand with you, and we need to stand together. Because there's too many people against us. Right. You know, and if we can't stand together, how do we expect people on the outside to look at us in a positive way? And that is the biggest issue for me. Right. So that's all. We're going to close it out.
We're going to close it out on that. But I would like to know if anyone here would like to ask any questions.
Our exclusive studio audience. If there's any questions that you have. They pay good money. Yes. $8,000 a person.
Tickets call 1-800 free tickets.
Does anyone have any questions?
Please ask any question you feel like asking.
Come on, Renee. I know you.
Yes, this is my true favorite.
This is an educational moment for me, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I don't have any questions because they answered it.
Oh.
But that's what we needed to hear. That.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Anyone else?
Ask. That's what we're here for. That's why we had this panel.
Well, does anybody have any questions that's watching on Facebook Live? Please send them now, because I know there's people watching.
You know you're watching, you want to hear your questions, and we'll answer them.
And you can't say that we tried to silence you.
For them.
Right, that's true.
No,
let me
you get free
matter of fact,
answers.
let me
Free answers.
Let me go.
Except for you got to pay. No.
Any questions for anybody that's watching?
Come on, people.
Please type them and write a comment, and we will answer your questions now.
Okay.
We have a question from our
question.
The legalities of identity transition. What does that mean for you as a person who is maybe a spouse of this individual?
That's a great question. The legality. So, you know, one of the things that we've been working on in the movement has to deal with if you're in a relationship with a trans woman, like the story of, which I love her, she's watching Nikki. You know, the legalities of being in a relationship with a person of trans experience. How does it affect you? You're married, Antwan, so how does it affect you? Well, where you live, especially. You're in.
Well, I live in a very good state as far as trans legalities are concerned. You're generally allowed to change names and things like that. But what it is it's more, the issue with us is more financial than it is anything else. It's not prohibitively expensive now, especially now that both of us are working. But it's more of a, do we really want to do this? Because, you know, there's a whole lot of things we're going to have to do once she has her name changed. She is going to have her name changed. It's something that we have discussed. It's something that I'm fully behind her 100% on. The only thing is, we have to make sure that a few things from her home state will be cleared up, and it's minor, but you know, some things like this have a way of getting in the way at the 11th hour. So we're going
in the way of what? I think that's what.
Well, you know, in my state, you are prohibited from name or gender change if you have a felony that is within, I believe, 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
You are not prohibited if you have a misdemeanor, but she doesn't have a felony. I'm just, but
we didn't assume she did.
No,
I'm sorry. At least I did.
I'm already in enough trouble. I don't need to
right. We weren't trying to say that.
No,
right.
But you're prohibited. It's basically, and I kind of, in a way, I kind of understand it's to keep people from adopting new
identity.
Right. But it's problematic in a trans, situation.
Yes.
And
yes, it is. It's definitely problematic. There's a second thing, though, that I have yet to really go into, which is that it is a very, you have to go before a judge. You have to go before a judge. And in certain parts of our state, the downstate Minnesota area, the Twin Cities, very liberal, very accepting, all this stuff. You start getting out toward Wright County and Stearns County, and all of a sudden, you got a bunch of people that in the last election voted Romney. So that, and some of them might actually be judges. So you want to kind of get a sympathetic or a logical jurist, and that's not always a given, even in a state as liberal as Minnesota.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, what's interesting, my ex of 8 years, when I used to travel for work, and she took me to the airport one day. Snowy day, she got onto the freeway, got over, cop pulled her over, said she got over too soon. Couldn't see the lines on the freeway. Long story short, we went to fight the ticket. She was so paranoid about going because her name at that point wasn't changed yet. The judge called her name, and then he called her name again and said, "No, I called so and so." And when she said, "That's me," and the judge looked at her, and she made her case, and she the judge threw out the ticket, and he said, but because he had called me up because she kept looking to me for strength because she had never gone through this before and was so worried and paranoid about being a woman of trans experience and dealing with the law. So finally, we worked on the case together. The judge threw it out, and he said, by the way, young lady, he said there's not a judge in this state that wouldn't allow you to get your name changed. And she said, yeah. And then as we were literally at the door, and he had called another case, and he said, wait a minute. And he called her name again, and he said, and he called her by the name she preferred, her preferred name, and said, you need to understand something. You need to get your name changed. And he said, he said, if I see you come in my courtroom and your name is changed, I'm coming out. But it wasn't in a mean or malicious way, because he really gave a damn.
Right. And that's great.
And those things are important. Recognizing family issues. Her being a stepmother and being able to embrace that. And the social stigmas where people think that trans women are pedophiles, which is a lie.
Right.
It's not even statistical. It's not even statistical
at all.
It makes no sense.
But all of these little things are.
We remember, and based off of the legalities thing, your friend Nikki. What happened to her. That is a real thing that happens in those who don't know her story of how she was married. And unfortunately, hopefully she doesn't mind me sharing. I mean, it is public, but she was married, and unfortunately, her husband died. Was a fireman, and he died in duty or in the line of duty, and she went through hell. She went hell to get the life insurance. They tried to take her house. All kinds of things happened that I've read, and I would love to talk to you about that. Actually, Nikki, it was such a powerful story for me because even with the fiance I had at the time, I remember talking to him and saying, we are going to have to set things up legally, you know, will-wise and paperwork and, you know, all that kind of stuff to make sure that if something was to happen to you, I would be in this house. You know, I would have these cars. I would be doing how we live. And so that is an issue for us, and that's a great question.
If I may add,
yes,
it's one of those things that it definitely underscores having, as you said, having things set up legally, durable power of attorney, wills, making sure life insurance policies are clearly delineated, because there are so many jurisdictions that have states, even in jurisdictions within those states, that have so many different varying laws around who can take on property, who can contest and will, when, and under what circumstances. So that's very important for trans communities in particular. But I did have a question among legalities, I guess legalities and the social ideas of being attracted to trans women. So many women who are trans that are involved, unfortunately, have been involved in sex work. What are your stance on those? What are your feelings on that? Have you been your experiences around that?
Well, there's a difference between survival sex work and sex work just because you want to do sex work.
Okay.
You know, there are challenges that a lot of trans women go through about getting employment. You know, I put my money where my mouth is. You know, I've hired. You know,
you have.
I've you know, my ex. I got her a couple of jobs. I've hired trans women. I've promoted trans women to management positions because I've been a district manager and upper management for a while. You know, I understand that it's difficult, but we need to, as members of this community, we need to make sure that those opportunities and people understand. I had an incident where a young lady who was working for me, and I worked for a place that gave massages and facials and things of that nature, where one of my employees was misgendering her, and she actually misgendered her to this woman who was a lesbian who was into activism, and she came in to complain. I'd already taken care of it, or I've already disciplined the employee, but she didn't think that I got it, you know. And I was trying to explain to her, you know, I get it. So what I ended up doing is just showing her my video and pressing play. Here, watch this. Oh, that's you. Yes, there are people. We do get it. There are men out here who get it. You know. Again, we can't continue to look at everyone as the enemy. You know, just because you look at me, you don't think that I'm a part of this community. You know, there are people, you know, that are in this community who have the power to do some things, to give jobs, to give opportunities. But as far as sex work is concerned, again, survival sex work, if you don't have an option, I can't be mad at you, because you have to live, you have to eat, you have to survive. You know, but when you make it a choice, when you make this your vocation, and then you don't let a man know who is you know, wanting to deal with you, and then you keep that a secret, that's when I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
You know.
And before you go, if I may, I want to ask you another part to that question, and I'd like you all to answer it as well. You said that you've given opportunities to trans women to have these opportunities to do things outside of sex work. So in saying that, and you're acknowledging that you understand survival sex, are we still living in a time when those opportunities are not available? So does survival sex really exist now? And I'm asking you that as a trans woman, because it begs the question, if you are available and you're saying that there are individuals in the community or in the world who are willing to give these opportunities, then is survival sex still necessary? Is it necessary, and is it a real thing now if those opportunities exist?
I don't think there's enough of those opportunities.
Okay.
I agree. I'm sorry.
I don't. Not enough opportunities at all.
There's not enough. There's not enough of those opportunities. There's not enough people, and there's not enough people who will stand up. You know, like I said, when my employee had these issues,
she would probably
you know,
fired,
she or well. Initially, they didn't want to hire her. When she came in demo, because she was an esthetician, when she came in demo, she was the best candidate. But because my manager, the manager that was running that store, she felt a certain kind of way about it, you know, and this young lady didn't have her name changed. I didn't care anything about that. Who was the best candidate? She's giving facials. You know, there are gay people who work in the beauty field and you know and all of that. So why is that an issue? And so, you know, my lead esthetician, you know, because she told me she was going to hire her, and then she brought these other people in like, Why are you talking to these people?
Yeah.
Why didn't you hire this other girl? Well, you know, my manager said so and so. No. What is your job? You are the lead esthetician. You make that decision. If that is your decision, then we go by your decision.
Right.
And so we ended up hiring her. But those opportunities are not enough because you're not having people step up and say, hey, you know, because somebody feels a certain way, or then you have the, you know, misgendering and causing a hostile work environment.
Right.
We need to stop that, and there needs to be protections that the country does, not state by state, because state by state is different. Those protections need to be countrywide, that you protect, you know, trans women, trans men, and their places of employment, so they're not misgendered, so they're not picked upon, so they're not fired because somebody is uncomfortable. That's not my problem. That's your problem, and you need to deal with it.
And then in terms of, you asked about survival sex and all that, and how we feel about those survival sex workers and stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, Troy is right. There are not enough jobs. People discriminate, and so we have to recognize that there's some people actually are really trying to get that work and trying to find what they can. What can you do? Do we shame them for that because they're trying? You have to put bread under your table. You have to keep your lights on. You have to be from you're protecting yourself because you're homeless. Then you open yourself up to all other type of abuse and all other type of things. Mm-hmm. So what do you do? What do you do? Do I think it's wrong? Or do I think sex work is wrong? I'm not going to judge on that. Do I think survival sex work is wrong? Hell no, because you got to do what you have to do. You know what I'm saying? You have to, especially if you've got a family, if you've got something else. But we have to get to the point where we have to create opportunities so young women don't have to make that choice. It's sad that they have to make that choice, period. And I think that is the key. No one should have to say, okay, I need to go do this to make some money. I should be able to go apply to this job here and not be discriminated against. Or I should be able to go to this school here and not be able to discriminate against. We have to put these things in place. We have to make the laws in place. We have to train and educate the right people. And
we have to educate the families too, because the families are the ones who putting these girls out on the street.
Exactly. And
then they have no choices. So there are families, and they're using religion to put their children out on the street. Mm-hmm. And I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. You know, and so no religion is going to allow you to throw your child to the wolves. Mm-hmm. Any religion that does that is sick, and it's not a religion.
Mm-hmm. And to throw your child to that point for these girls and for some of these men to feel that this is where they need to in order to survive. That's a problem, and of course that goes back to, again, as people of color, we have that in the choices that we make for all our people, brothers incarcerated for selling drugs and for all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. We're here because the reality is the opportunities are not here for us.
And yet there's industries selling marijuana now, and they're making millions upon millions of dollars.
And that was a whole other conversation with somebody else. But at the same time, and of course, as African Americans, that's something we don't do. We don't hire enough of our own people. No. All right, we're quick to go. We're quick to go to the white man for those services, or for cheaper services, go to the Latino man to help you out there, or we go to the Asians, we go wherever. But we don't help ourselves. Now, part of that is because we're in our survival mode. We're also in that hustle mode. All right, in that hustle mode, and some of us take advantage of one another. But for the most part, we don't do enough for each other. To where our children shouldn't have to have these choices, make these decisions on what to do.
Well, we have to close because we're on our last minute, but I want to say thank you all so much for an incredible panel. Hopefully it was helpful to those of you watching. Thank you for watching Conversations with Tona Brown live on Facebook.
And this is not the last conversation.
That's true. We're going to have a lot of conversations, and like I said, there's so many different ideas and so many different conversations I'll be bringing forward to you that are similar to this. Thank you so much.
Over tea and crumpets.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for watching.
Ooh, good job.
I just saw another topic. I just